From Desire to System, Part 4, Raising a Financially Confident Child, a XiaoWellness Media Production, a reflective family learning journey, documenting how rhythm, structure, and calm can teach the next generation the language of awareness and choice. This series documents my personal process of teaching my daughter about structure, awareness, and financial literacy within our own family setting. It is shared for reflection and educational purposes only, not a financial, legal, or investment advice. All examples, observations, and discussions are intended solely to illustrate learning concepts as part of our family journey. From Desire to System, Family Edition, a series about rhythm, reflection, and the quiet systems that start at home. Every morning before the rush of the day, I take a few minutes to connect with my daughter, not to talk about chores or school, but to talk about life in motion. I didn't grow up with clarity about money. I grew up with worry, the kind that makes you feel like the world decides for you. For years, I believed freedom was for other people, but structure changed that. Learning how money moves taught me that control doesn't come from circumstance. It comes from awareness. That's why I'm doing this work, because I want every woman who's ever felt small, who's ever felt unseen or out of options, to know that she isn't powerless. I want her to see that understanding how money works isn't about wealth. It's about dignity, confidence, and peace. And for my daughter, my greatest hope is that she grows up fluent in both, the language of compassion and the language of capital, that she can earn, decide, and lead from strength and clarity. If she learns that now, then one day she can teach it to others. And the cycle of silence ends with us. This is my why. And this is our story, a mother learning alongside her child, turning structure into freedom and proof into possibility. This series is my record, a mother learning alongside her child, discovering how structure and curiosity can grow together. I told Sophia this morning, the stock market isn't a casino or a mystery. It's a storybook, one that changes colors every day. Each color reflects emotion, green for growth, red for retreat, gray for quiet in between. I explained, the market moves because people move with hope, fear, curiosity, and confidence. And as she listened, she nodded, because that's not so different from how her own feelings shift each day. Teaching our kid about the market isn't about investing early. It's about showing them that emotion drives motion, and awareness brings balance. What if we taught calm before profit? What if we taught presence before pressure? That's where financial literacy truly begins. Later, as we talked, I said, imagine every company as a living tree. Some trees grow fast and some slow, but each one needs roots, sunlight, and time. The market is a garden of those trees, each changing in size as people choose where to plant their belief. When investors think a company is healthy, they buy, adding sunlight. When they worry, they sell, taking shade. That's why prices move, not from chaos, but from choices. Sophia drew her version of that. Little trees labeled Disney, Google, and Coca-Cola. She laughed when I said, even Uber Eats is a tree. It grows when people get hungry. That small drawing said everything. She didn't see chart or tickers. She saw connection, how every product in our kitchen or every story on her screen ties back to a real company with people, work, and purpose. That's the beauty of teaching children through what they already know. The lesson lands not because we simplified it, but because we made it familiar. From that conversation, her curiosity bloomed. Can I make my own list? She asked. And so we built her first watch list. It wasn't about stock picking. It was about attention training. I let her choose 5 companies that already lived in her world. Her final list made me smile. Google, Uber Eats, Disney, Costco, and Coca-Cola. Today begins where our journey really started. Learning that the market has a story. Sophia sits beside me as we open my TradingView screen. She types each company from her list into the search bar just to see what the market looks like today. We don't trade, we observe. Each color on the screen becomes part of our learning story. Each choice had a story. Google for curiosity, Uber Eats for convenience, Disney for joy, Costco for family, Coca-Cola for tradition. Together we talked about what makes each of them strong, how people use their services, and how their success depends on trust and need. That's when I realized something powerful. She was already thinking like an investor, not because she knew charts, but because she could explain why people care about these companies. When children can explain how a business earns and why people value it, they've already begun to understand ownership. In our home, we don't rush learning, we observe it. So I told her, we don't need to buy these stocks or track every tick. We just need to notice what happens. Each day after school, she'll open her list and look at the colors, red, green, or gray, and write one line about what she sees. Sometimes it's as simple as Disney was green today. Sometimes she guesses why. Maybe more people went to the park. The goal isn't accuracy, it's awareness. Observation teaches patience. Waiting teaches discipline. Reflection turns both into wisdom. That's the foundation of every system, even mine as a trader. The same rhythm I use at my desk, plan, act, write, wait, review, is the same pattern she's now learning in her own small way. If you want your child to inherit your discipline, let them inherit your rhythm first. I want her to see that learning about money isn't about numbers. It's about noticing behavior, asking questions, and writing down what you discover. That's what builds calm confidence, not quick results. And maybe as mothers, that's what we're really passing down, not a portfolio, but a process. The habit of reflection, the patience to wait, the awareness to stay grounded even when things move. The market has a story, but so does every family. Ours is a story about structure and curiosity, about teaching presence through practice. Tonight, before bed, she will sit down and journal what she has learned today. Her reflection, her thoughts, and her perspective about the market. She'll write 1 page in her notebook, and alongside her words, she'll draw, illustrating her point of view in color and feeling. This is how she processes what she sees. Writing turns understanding into language, and drawing turns it into emotion. When she finishes her page, she'll translate her words into Chinese, carefully writing each character beneath her sentences. Her journal becomes a blend of language and art, a record of learning that speaks in 2 voices, both her own and her heritage. It's not just about what she knows, it's about how she expresses what she sees. What started as a trading system has now become a parenting system. Every color on that screen reminds me she's watching me, not the market. My calm becomes her compass. From desire to system, family edition, building systems, not just savings, teaching calm, not just currency, growing awareness that multiplies beyond money. Every morning, the colors on the screen tell a story. Today, I want her to look deeper, beyond green or red, and ask the real question, what does this company actually do for people? Because behind every ticker is a story of work, service, and value. And learning that is the beginning of real financial understanding. We open our list again: Google, Uber Eats, Disney, Costco, and Coca-Cola. I tell her the price shows what people believe a company is worth today. But the company's work, what it gives to the world, is what builds that worth over time. So she clicks one name at a time, not to see the chart, but to remember the story. What does this company make? I ask. Who uses it? How does it help people? When children can describe how a business helps others, they start to see that money follows service. We talk about how companies earn. Google earns because businesses pay to show their ads. Uber Eats earns by bringing food from restaurants to homes. Disney earns from movies, parks, and magic. Costco earns because families trust it for value. Coca-Cola earns because people choose its flavor again and again. So income, I tell her, is what comes back when people find your work useful. She nods. So it's like when I help you clean the garden and you give me $1. Exactly, I smile. That's income, a return for effort. Next we ask, what role does each one play in our world? Google connects people to service. Uber Eats delivers food to people when busy. Disney inspires people to imagine. Costco provides food for family. Coca-Cola refreshes and brings people together. Every company fills a need. That's its role in the system. So the market, I tell her, is really just a map of needs being met or not met every day. Tonight she'll write another page. Title: What a Company Really Does. For each name on her list, she'll answer 3 questions. What does this company make or provide? Who does it help? Why do people keep choosing it? She can add a drawing or a simple flow chart, maybe arrows showing people to product, to payment, to growth. Then she'll translate one paragraph into Chinese, writing the key company words beneath in characters, bridging languages the way business bridges value. I remind her every company is built on the same rhythm as any person: give value, receive return, repeat. Understanding that rhythm builds respect, not just for money, but for the people and effort behind it. That's lesson 2, learning what a company really does and how service becomes income. Every lesson we've shared so far has been about seeing and understanding. Today, we begin learning what it means to own a small piece of something real. In my own portfolio, I choose a few of the same companies from her list. Just a small holding, enough to follow together. It isn't about making money. It's about seeing how value moves when a company earns, creates, and grows. I tell her, when we own even one share, we become part of the story. We share the company's results, the ups and the downs. We open the portfolio screen side by side. She sees the same names like Disney, now with numbers beside them: price, change, percentage. I explain that these numbers rise or fall based on how much profit the company makes and how confident people feel about its future. See this line here, I say. That's earnings per share, how much the company made for every share people own. When earnings go up, the company is proving its strength. When they fall, it's a signal to look deeper, not to panic, but to understand why. She nods slowly, tracing the chart with her finger. So it's like a report card, she says. Yes, I smile. A company's report card measured in effort and trust. We talk about how businesses reinvest what they earn to build, hire, create, and serve. That's why ownership matters. It connects effort, outcome, and impact. I remind her, our goal isn't to predict. Our goal is to notice, to understand how real work creates real value. Each week she'll write a short reflection. what she noticed, what changed, and what she thinks caused the movement. Not right or wrong, just observation turned into understanding. Her new journal page is titled, When a Company Earns. She'll draw one company at the top, write its current price, and add a few words beneath, up, down, or steady. Then in her own words, she'll answer, what might have changed this week? I tell her, earnings are proof of effort, and ownership is proof of belief. When you understand both, you learn how patience and purpose create growth. That's lesson 3, learning what ownership means and how value changes when effort meets results. Today marked a new milestone in Sophia's learning. The moment she moved from observing the market to gently participating through my custodial account. This wasn't about making money. It was about letting her feel what ownership is and showing her how value moves over time. Every morning we open her watch list, Google, Uber, Disney, Costco, and other names she knows. But today she watched more than color. She noticed the small rises and dips that happen even on quiet days. I told her, the market breathes like weather, sometimes calm, sometimes windy, sometimes warm, sometimes cool. As she followed the movement, I could see her understanding deepen. Observation turned into awareness, and that awareness will become her reflection tonight. After watching, we took our next step and bought one stock from her list, a company she recognized and believes in. I explained what entering a position means, how to read a share price, and how buying connects us to a company's story. Ownership is a participation, not prediction. When the stock appeared in the account, she understood she now owns a small part of something real. Then we talked about her budget. She learned that the money used to buy a stock comes from what she has today, and that the remainder becomes her new budget. Because she can't buy everything, she has to choose with intention. A simple but powerful lesson in capital allocation. Next, I taught her about paper gains and paper losses. If the price drops, it's a paper loss. If it rises, a paper gain. Neither becomes real until we decide to sell. She said, so the number can change, but the company is still working. Exactly, a calm investor's mindset in one sentence. We ended with a conversation about the types of stocks she'll encounter. Growth stocks that expand and create. Income stocks that share profit. Satellite positions that add flexibility. Index ETFs that grow steadily over time. And cash, the safety that gives her options. These concepts are advanced, yet she grasped them because the learning is real and grounded. Tonight she'll write one page in Chinese about the company we bought together and draw what she understood today, a small reflection that becomes tomorrow's confidence. And as I close today's lesson with Sophia, I keep replaying the tiny moments that made this day feel alive. The way she stared at the screen and suddenly shouted, "Mommy, that number just changed." The way her eyes lit up when she realized she was an owner, asking with pure sincerity, "Does that mean I get to make the important decisions?" Her wonder is so genuine, so full of heart. It reminds me exactly why I'm doing this. I think about her drawings, the piggy bank she colors with care, the stock chart she turns into a playful zigzag across the page. Every time she sits beside me, she traces the lines with her finger, following each rise and dip, as if she's touching the rhythm of the market itself. It feels warm, imaginative, and deeply human. These are the moments that matter, not the price or the profit, but the spark. This is our beginning, a steady practice of turning awareness into understanding, and understanding into confidence. And as we move forward, I want to speak to you, the listener who feels called to guide a young mind but isn't sure where to begin. Let this be your reminder that every choice you make today becomes the foundation of tomorrow. The next generation is shaped by the habits we model, the calm we practice, and the awareness we pass down. I'm giving Sophia the tool I never had access to, hoping she grows with strength, clarity, and trust in herself. And my wish is that this inspires your next move, whether it's improving your health, raising a financially responsible child, or stepping into the market with intention. No matter the path, the message remains the same. Become the person you aspire to be and honor the truth that the wealth you're seeking already lives within you.